Hi,
Hello, Marissa.
how are you?
Good, doing great. Seeing your
Good.
cheery face. Very good.
Yes, it's good to see you. Well,
Thank
thank
you.
you for taking time to chat with me and, share some stories about Erin and a little bit about your experiences.
Super. Be glad to
Yeah.
share that.
So to start off, do you want to, share some of the, bright moments, some things that really made you smile about Erin?
Really, everything makes me smile about Erin. It's really easy from the time that she was born to the time that I used to just, rock her to sleep and just all of the time. The memories, like everybody that has children, the
Right.
memories that you have are just irreplaceable. And the experiences you're always told, like, until you have children you don't understand, but if you don't get it you don't get it, but it's kind of really the truth.
Yeah.
But to really tell people having your all children are amazing. and
Mm-hmm.
and so it's great to Erin was just a delight. She was always a lot of fun. She would
Mm-hmm.
wake up in the morning playing with her. She would just, some children, every every child's different, but Erin would wake up in the morning giggling and having fun and playing with her feet. And I would walk and we would just spend time. And then as she got older, it was great. We would spend the mornings watching cartoons together.
Oh my gosh, I love
Yeah,
it.
the memory, on and on.
Those are
There's
special moments. They seem so simple in the moment, and then you're like, wow, this is something to cherish.
it is. It's always the very simplest of things that you will always cherish.
Mm-hmm.
It's always simple things.
Yeah, you make good memories. Yeah.
They were they're amazing memories.
How would you describe yourself like as a dad for her and
I
Harris
think I
too? Yeah.
I think as a dad, you know, being, not being too critical,
Hmm.
because it's easy to kind of take yourself apart, just, especially in the situation that Erin died so young. But as a dad, I just really love the moments. And I think I'm a great dad. And the reason is because I have very great parents. And your parents really, you're a reflection of your parents. I truly do believe that. And so I'm very lucky that I had very loving parents, and my grandparents were very loving. And I'm consequently very loving of our children. And I feel the way about other people's children too. So I think, as a parent, as a dad, yeah, I think I
Yeah.
rate right up there.
Yes. And I think that's actually a really great point that we can even get into later. But it is a lot of how you were raised, and the experiences you had and what's normal to you, healthy, loving, and that's amazing that you were able to, pass on that, healthy relationship, and fun, I know that your household was really known as the fun loving, silly, but you could also talk about like the serious stuff, which I think is a special balance to have that you might not even know, but it is.
It is a great balance, but really comes down to, it's fun to be silly and it's fun to be loving. And you really are a reflection of your parents. And I really believe that
Mm,
my children, our children, are really a reflection of us.
yeah.
And so I think that's one of the main reasons that the Erin Levitas Foundation is so vitally and urgently important, because there are some things that need to be shared, and there are some values, and there are some helpful things that can go a long way.
Right. Do you want to, would you share a little bit about your experience with Erin, kind of, the reason the foundation was started, but as a dad, how did you find out about her, her sexual assault?
Well, as a dad, as a parent,
As a parent? Yeah.
there is no easy way. There's no easy way into the conversation. I can assure
Mm-hmm.
that. So
Yeah.
Erin, of course, hid that from both Wendy and I
Mm-hmm.
for, I believe it was like almost 2 years in.
Right.
So I knew that something was up because Erin was not the same Erin. She
Mm.
didn't have a big smile and a lot of fun. And, we couldn't do like kid stuff, even when she was an adult, we would still do more like, like just kid stuff.
Yeah.
And so that did change. So I knew that there was
Mm.
something going, just I knew there was. And so I have to say that uh, when Wendy told me, and then when we talked about it, I was shocked, but I knew that something was going on. So
Yeah.
as a parent, really do know your children, and you should really look for all the signs. I think that's a very good thing, and keep an
Right.
open rapport. I think something like sexual assault, it wasn't something that Erin wanted to bring right up. So it wasn't something that, no matter how much said, like, what's going on, it didn't come to the surface. And then when it did come to the surface, um, you feel as a parent and as a dad, you feel very powerless, and you feel the shock is so deep, and there's nothing you can do to protect your child.
Hmm.
And so it's just a terrible feeling. And so that was that. And you also know, I mean, my first reaction was, okay, what can I do? How do I find this person that perpetrated you know, this to Erin? But at the end, the damage was done.
Mm.
So now it was, what could I do as a father to help?
Yeah.
And you feel very powerless. And until we really, until I really learned more about what Erin had been doing over those 2 years,
Hmm.
she really did start the Erin Levitas Foundation. She started that in a forum. She had a small like a blog set up.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah. And
right.
just like a discussion group too. Yeah.
Right. It was a discussion group. I think it was anonymous.
Yeah.
You weren't right. Names weren't used, but I think everybody really knew what was going. The underlying statement was clear, and
Right.
her mission at that point, the mission was clear. So
Hmm.
she was already doing this self-help, but at the same time helping others,
Right.
and helping others in identifying sexual assault.
Hmm.
But nonetheless, that sexual assault was already done. And as a parent, and especially as a parent, and especially as a father, it's really great to empower, um, to have the Erin Levitas Foundation as an empowerment, because it allows you to help other children. And
Hmm.
as a parent, you really do feel the need to help others. And I think it's a human characteristic. And I think it happens very deeply, whether you are and are not a parent. It's just not so apparent to the person that's not a parent of what has to be done. But once they understand the depth of sexual assault and
Hmm.
how many people are really affected, it's tremendous. And so if other people can be spared the agony,
Hmm.
then the journey is worth the journey.
Right. Right. Because I think what I can see what you're saying. It's like it also impacts, the family unit, the friends, or whomever their people who are close in their life. Right. So as a parent, that's, your perspective here, but there's so many people that go through, whether it's a loved one, it's their best friend, that go through this. And, I'm sure there's some similar feelings, but as your experience as a parent, knowing that it happened to your child, and now that you can help other young people hopefully not even have this happen to them is the goal, obviously.
Yeah, no, I think you're completely right. It's the depth at which sexual assault goes is way beyond just the person that it's done to.
Yeah.
It then carries through to the relationship with their
Hmm.
friends, parents, with their aunts, with their uncles, with their
Right.
siblings, with their cousins. With it's a very deep.
Yeah.
It's very widespread and far-reaching. So to be able to help somebody not go through this, to have a
Hmm.
family not endure it. And I believe that's the hardest part. Because if you're just dealing with sexual assault, you can say, okay, these people are affected. But now what you're saying is really to really help people. It's like, okay, if you could turn back the clock to where you didn't have the sexual assault, I think that is the real mission, is to turn for somebody, to help somebody not reach that end result, because it does happen. And you have been finding these statistics, but the statistics are pretty unbelievable, actually.
I think
shocking.
It's a great point. And you share kind of these long-term impacts, right? And we actually know that a young person, anyone who goes through even, sexual harassment, which we know is a precursor to sexual assault, one of those early signs can actually be as traumatizing on an individual in some ways as a sexual assault, an act. You mentioned like Erin had changed, in some ways. Are there any other things that you had seen that you maybe didn't notice, or you noticed in your gut and you're like, I did know, like when you said you weren't surprised, were there any other specific things for parents, or loved ones kind of, watching this being like, oh, maybe I didn't think about that?
Yeah, I think it's exactly as you're saying. It's, that something has changed because your relationship with your child is very special. And when that assault happens, the relationship changes. Is a change, and you notice it right away. We weren't able to kid about certain things. We weren't able to be, I couldn't even grab her and hug her and squeeze her. Things definitely from all levels had changed. And I knew that something was up. I just couldn't put my finger on it. Because I'd never experienced sexual assault. So
right. Is there, now looking back, where someone that is learning about this, and let's say they're going to find something like this out, hopefully less and less people for the first time, is there any way that you're like, oh, I could have done this, or, because, when we always look back on things, or what would be advice for someone going through something, getting the news that a loved one or, a child had found that out? I know you guys were unbelievably supportive, but I think people hearing it to know it can be helpful.
I think just hearing the news, I think that the number one thing is to be supportive. That's not be reactive, not be overreactive in that, okay, I think you have to be supportive emotionally. You have to be supportive in a lot of ways. You also have to look at, okay, how did this happen? How long ago did it happen? Is there anything legally that can be done? The way out of this is prevention. It really comes down to that. You can say supportive. It's only about the support. But I could help out anybody. I would rather them not go through the trauma. I'd rather the family not experience it.
Right.
And I think this is a challenge because one has to understand that to not experience it is really the best thing.
That's the gift.
That is the gift. That is right. That's the gift.
Right. I loved how you said she really started the work already, and I agree with you. How did it make you feel? I mean, probably not very surprised, but when you found out that she was basically already doing this work, at her college at Wake Forest.
I was extremely proud of her, and I was absolutely not shocked, or I didn't expect. I'm not going to say the word is definitely not expect, because I would never have that type of expectation ever. Right. But to say that I was shocked, I was absolutely, like, I knew that's Erin. Like, absolutely, she would be an advocate. She would be outspoken. She would find a way to help somebody else through the pain. And that is the lesson. That is what I think she really got from us as parents. The nurturing, the love, and that is the care for others. And I think that was the reason for starting the online conversation, the anonymous conversation, the blog. And
Yeah.
that was to help herself and to help others.
Yeah.
So I think her immediate need was to help others, because you absolutely have a way of helping yourself by helping others.
Right.
It makes you feel good. That's why it always makes you feel good when you help others.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter how small the deed is. It can be opening the door for somebody.
Yeah.
It can be just putting a smile on somebody's face, and boom, you have done something nice. So
there's studies about that actually, like, helping someone or giving something to someone gives back to you way more than doing something for yourself. Actually, there's like studies about it.
oh, absolutely. I don't
Yeah,
think you
I mean,
need
it makes sense, but yeah,
it's human nature. It's just
yeah,
it's what makes us
feels good.
human.
Right.
It's what makes us human. And
Yeah.
it's what's great about this cause, is that it really is to help others.
Mm-hmm.
It really is the mission.
And you and Wendy and, Harris have really shared your story. Is there any, I know your community has been incredible. And when you start, sharing, obviously when she passed, which, was from cancer, but then you took it to a level of sharing, her experience with sexual assault and the work that you're doing with the foundation. How has that been for you? Because it's, let's say, let's call it what it is. It's not a topic that a lot of people talk about, and specifically in kind of the work that you do. I know you're in the racing community. There's lots of women, but there it can be male dominated. How has that been?
That side of the world that I'm kind of from, this racing world, is very understanding, very open-minded, and extremely receptive and helpful. What I find is the challenge is to people thinking that by discussing sexual assault, that you're actually, in a way, bringing up a topic that they're scared of. And I think this is the biggest wall that people have, is discussing it. But it's a healthy discussion. It's a discussion. The more that it's discussed, the less that it could possibly happen to somebody else.
Right.
And I think that that's the thing that you have to really try to do. For me as a father, knowing that the most terrifying thing to Erin, knowing that she was dying of cancer, her biggest fear and the thing that kept her up at night was the sexual assault. It wasn't that part really reinforced to me, like, oh my gosh, I get it as a father. Will I ever get it as much as the person that it was perpetrated upon? I don't think so.
Mm-hmm.
I dare to say also that, think of the, sexual assault is it's two individuals. It typically, it's more than one person involved in this, obviously. But the person that's doing the assaulting, they're typically, I mean, look, Erin was young and the other person was young. It impacts.
And they often know each other. Yeah.
They do. They often know each other, and the impact that it has, it severs relationships. It's, I mean, the dynamics that go on here are so broad and so ranging, that I just can't emphasize enough. And I understand Erin's her real mission was to be a voice for sexual assault. And I believe that the best way that we can carry the flame forward and to carry this torch is to be in the side of prevention. Because wow, like man, what a gift you can give the world if someone doesn't have to know the pain. And then what about the person perpetrating? I mean, I don't want to take anything, there's an onus on everybody, and I don't believe it's with the person that it's perpetrated upon. It there's a certain thing, a kindness, that you don't take advantage of people. And I don't care whether that's a boy or a girl, but at the same time, I just think that you're ruining that you can really help a lot of people out by preventing this
Right.
horrible pain.
Yeah. And I think a beautiful part of our work is, by we're preventing perpetrators as well. We're preventing people from becoming survivors and victims, and we're also preventing a person from becoming a perpetrator with the early education, right? A child that, or a young person, a middle school student that is showing signs, unhealthy signs. And let's say they're in a place with the work that we're doing, or they have a family member or, a loved one who's, a part of this type of work and can learn these healthy behaviors and says, hey, these are not, the red flags start to go up. And, the hope is the work that we're doing is that they don't continue down an unhealthy path, and it can stop before it escalates to things like sexual assault and rape. And right there, I mean, that's a whole trajectory for that person who would have, become a perpetrator. What does their life look like? And what does the individual's life look like that, became a survivor? Like you said, I mean, it really, you just shared how that, painted and changed Erin's life. And so if you kind of take those things away, it's incredible.
It is. I mean, I really like the way that you shared that, because you're right. By having someone that perpetrates these acts, they then grow into adulthood, and you don't know how they end up having families who are,
Mm-hmm.
or you're really changing the trajectory of their life as
Right.
well. What happens when they have children? Will they be that nurturing,
Right.
kind? I was always taught that, you wanted to leave the planet a nicer place.
Right. And how
My
fortunate for
grandparents
you,
were,
right?
it is, it is. So
That's a gift. So
it
yeah.
is. And I think that's the most important gift that all of us have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And anything in, the work, I know there's been, you've really been involved and love seeing what's going on. Are there any of the programs that you're like, that is cool, or Erin would love that?
Um, any other programs?
Or
Well,
that you've learned, in the work that the foundation is doing, that you're just like, wow.
I've just been, I, all the work that the foundation has done, Erin is just exuding, like, just smiles, and just can't believe how this has really grown into a cause, a good cause, a really righteous cause.
Mm-hmm.
And the only other one I can think of is that I share a lot of smiles with people that I race with,
Right.
but that's that's on a whole nother level. But no, I think that by having, but I think the foundation has just done an amazing job of helping others and trying and leading a way, just because the job is a hard job, and the conversation's a hard conversation, and sometimes the hardest questions are the questions you have to ask. Sometimes the things that you don't want to talk about are the ones that are important. It's not the
Mm-hmm.
small talk. So having these sexual assault conversations are maybe some of the foundations of what children, it's really what make people who they are. And I believe that it goes way deeper than just sexual assault. I believe it's everything from bullying to violence to, I think there's a lot going on with this. And I don't
Yeah.
think that but you can keep growing and growing and growing. And there's a place where you just have to get focused and laser in on a job. And I think the job and the mission is to
Mm-hmm.
prevent sexual assault. And I think all the other fallout of that will be less violence, more kindness, better people. And if you're in business, you have better employees. There's a
Mm-hmm.
lot of dynamics to this. And the talk is a hard talk. The
Yeah.
subject is a tough subject. So but it
Mm-hmm.
needs to be done. The work needs to be done.
Yeah. No, you're right. And that's why we're starting it early. And, thank you for, giving of, yourselves and your sharing your stories, because I think it really helps people know that it's happening. It's everywhere, but let's stop that. Let's prevent that, reduce that. And I think, like you said, that's the real gift. that can happen here as well.
It is, and I've been, and since this journey started with the Erin Levitas Foundation, I've gone out and I've done a couple of, Wendy and I and yourself and others in the foundation, we've kind of hit the road, had discussions, kind of had a round table with people. But at the same time, then after you finish giving a speech or talking about the foundation, talking about the good that we're trying to do, that we are doing, then the true life stories come out.
Right.
And I have to tell you, the stories that I've heard, I've been absolutely floored. Relatives that have shared sexual assault stories. Oh my gosh, I was at we were at one fundraiser, and a young man had been sexually assaulted. I mean, this is not just about women being assaulted. There's men being assaulted too.
Yeah.
And it runs deep, and the stories you hear, and the effect is pretty big. And people really, it's like, it's a subject that's very, the more you talk about the subject, the more you find. But that's where the healing begins.
Yeah.
But then the real healing is in the prevention. That's that's the silver bullet. That's the hard one.
Well, thank you for, for sharing this and your story, and, bringing a smile to our face with Erin. And I know that, we get to do it every day and think about her and all the funny things, about her, but also what she wanted to see happen in the world. Like you said, that she started.
Yeah. Always, that's really, Marissa, you're spot on. I mean, the biggest thing that I would have to share with people is, I think the biggest, the flame that I saw go out in Erin over those 2 years where I wasn't really told, was that I saw that smile diminish. And I've always about, life should be full of smiles,
right,
and not regret. And it should be about having a passion for smiling and for enjoying life. And that was a big thing to be stolen. That was that was the biggest thing. So, for everybody that's listening, if to prevent sexual assault means that people stay happier, healthier, and live better lives.
Yeah. So let's do it. Let's make it happen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Marissa. Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Talk to you soon. Bye.
All right. Talk soon. Bye-bye.